The FBI believes Trump campaign official Rick Gates had frequent phone calls in September and October of 2016 with a person with links to Russian spy services.
There was no collusion, and we're very confident in that and look forward to this process wrapping up.
With nearly 100,000 estimated visitors pouring in from across the country, San Antonio is the final stage of this year's men's NCAA Final Four tournament.
It just means everything to see these guys be happy going to San Antonio, and this basically what we was playing for.
Ahead of a potential November election to amend the city's gilding document, Mayor Ron Nirenberg recasts the makeup of the San Antonio Charter Review Commission. And could Congressman Beto O'Rourke run for president?
Odds are certainly long, and yet it's totally possible. And that I'm learning every day as well.
If O'Rourke wins a seat in the U.S. Senate this year, one notable congressman thinks he'll be a dark horse contender for the White House. Subscribe to this and other free content at expressnews.com/podcasts. And get each day's top news and sports headlines delivered to your inbox at expressnews.com/newsletters. This is your Express Briefing for Thursday, March 29th. I'm Chance Dorland. A newly released document shows during the final weeks of the 2016 presidential race, a top Trump campaign official had repeated communications with a business associate tied to Russian intelligence. Rick Gates reportedly had frequent phone calls in September and October of 2016 with a person the FBI believes at the time had active links to Russian spy services, with Gates also reportedly telling an associate the person was a former Russian intelligence officer with the Russian Military Intelligence Agency. Special counsel Robert Mueller is investigating numerous contacts between President Donald Trump's advisors and Russia-linked individuals and entities leading up to and after the November 2016 election. And the newly released document, filed in Mueller's name, names the communications between Gates and the unidentified individual as pertinent to that investigation. The document describes the business associate as someone who worked for Rick Gates and Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Wednesday, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said President Trump has not considered pardoning Manafort or Michael Flynn in the Russia probe, once again noting that there was no collusion.
I would refer you back to the statement from Ty Cobb in the report that you're asking about, in which he said, "I've only been asked about pardons by the press and have routinely responded on the record that no pardons are under discussion or under consideration at the White House."
And is the White House worried about what Michael Flynn or Paul Manafort might tell Special Counsel Robert Mueller?
Look, as we've said pretty much every day since we got here, because you guys have continued to ask about this topic every single day, there was no collusion, and we're very confident in that and look forward to this process wrapping up.
This week, San Antonio welcomes a projected 93,000 visitors from across the nation for the NCAA Men's Final Four, with many arriving from the team's home states of Kansas, Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. While visitors will quickly discover the Riverwalk and Alamo, as well as the good Tex-Mex that exists all over the city, they'll also discover what makes San Antonio distinctly different from other major U.S. cities, as there's already a lot going on over the weekend outside of college sports. Visitors will have the opportunity to experience tricentennial celebrations, the anniversary of superstar Selena's death, Easter weekend campouts and barbecues, Good Friday's downtown public reenactment, and even a Spurs game against Texas rival the Houston Rockets. Check out more tips and suggestions for navigating San Antonio this weekend at expressnews.com. As the Firefighters Union continues to press forward on a petition campaign for 3 charter amendments, Wednesday, Mayor Ron Nirenberg recast the dormant Charter Review Commission, replacing all but 3 of the 13 members, and directing them to form recommendations in 4 areas by June. The recast panel is facing a tight deadline due to the potential that the city will be forced by the San Antonio Professional Firefighters Association into calling a charter amendment election in November. Charter change is something Nirenberg has talked about since before winning last year's mayoral election, but now, faced with the prospect of a forced election, faces a shortened time frame to develop proposals. having opened several new specialized schools to students all over Bexar County. This year, the San Antonio Independent School District was supposed to stabilize declining enrollment with the possibility of even a small amount of growth. But instead, Superintendent Pedro Martinez says the district saw its largest ever enrollment drop and predicts another decline next year, with resulting reductions in attendance-based state revenue now driving a $31 million budget shortfall over 2 years. While students continue to leave the district for charter schools, Martinez says that alone doesn't seem to account for the enrollment plunge. And while the district's reserve funds are at a historic high, they won't hold out over sharp enrollment declines every year. And if Beto O'Rourke wins a seat in the U.S. Senate, one notable member of Congress thinks that it would make him a dark horse contender for the White House. In a Facebook Live video recorded while the two drove around Houston, U.S. Representative Joe Kennedy III deflected talk of him running for president by suggesting instead that O'Rourke might be the better candidate.
Joe Kennedy, who is in town, he married a good Texan, is coming back to spend the Easter weekend with his in-laws and his family. Has agreed to be our driver for the day. So I want you all to give a big Texas hello and welcome to Joe Kennedy.
While the banter was mostly playful, Kennedy did explain why he considers Congressman O'Rourke one of the dark horse White House contenders, noting that at the moment, a Democrat being able to win statewide in Texas is more difficult than running for president. Subscribe to this and other free content at expressnews.com/podcasts. That's your daily San Antonio Express News briefing for Thursday, March 29th. I'm Chance Dorland.